a family of mumblers. So we would eat everything up.
I think actually, if I think back when I was younger, my sister always, I've got an older sister, 10 years older, and she used to say to me, "You're mumbling, stop mumbling," all the time.
She's at Cara now. She's come. So she's been in a different drama school, and it's at a higher level. And she's coming back to Harlow, and they're all saying she talks really posh.
Oh, really?
But I think it's because they're making it enunciate more.
Yes, they're working on the diction.
And it's a much better drama school, so she's enjoying it.
Yeah, well, to Cara, she's been on the podcast previously, isn't she? And and she had. I remembering back from when I met her, she had brilliant diction then. So I can only imagine what it could be like now.
Yeah.
So here we are, Andy. We're at the Harlow Foodbank.
Yeah.
So this episode is part of the Amplify Harlow series, or Amplifying the Voices of Harlow.
Yeah.
And you're a big voice here in Harlow, doing some amazing work at the food bank with the communities.
Yeah.
I've been having a walk around today around Bounty as well.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing that's happening here. Tell me a little bit about where we're at the moment, what's happening right now.
Well, I've been here 5 years, but I've been in Harlow 19, I think, something like that. I moved here when I was working in London, commuting backwards and forwards. And one of the jobs I did was, when COVID landed, was I was a trainer for the British Council, so I was working in Asia and Middle East, training people to do social activities like this. And then at COVID, the point of COVID, I couldn't do anything. I was stuck, couldn't get any planes or go anywhere. And this job came up, and I thought, well, it's time to do what you've been training other people to do. And I've worked in other charities and done other things, and do it in your backyard for the people of the town you live in. And my kids have been at school here and everything. And at that point, it was in the middle of COVID, and the food bank was absolutely rammed to the ceiling because
it was at its peak of necessity, wasn't it?
It's also a strange moment because it was, and people suddenly started being much more thoughtful about their neighbours, and we became conscious that there's a lot more people in the town that we don't know about who are struggling. And but at the same time, there were like different kinds of businesses who've had to close down, many of whom were food shops. So they just piled all the food on the food bank.
Right, okay.
So we had tons and tons of food. We filled the food bank, which is big. There's like 60 tons of food there. And we overflowed into 2 different other premises to store all the extra food we were being given. And so at that point, when people started coming back after COVID, we couldn't even let people into the food bank. People had to wait at the door. At that point, it was in the church in St. Paul's. So people couldn't come in, so we were giving them the bags and saying, take care.
Yeah, okay.
But when we opened the doors again, we had this other project which my predecessor set up, which was called the Bounty Club, and that was picking up fresh fruit, vegetables, and meat from breaks and other places. But that's a big food distributor that's based in Harlow. And what Harlow has got historically is people who do distribution. Like Tesco's distribution, I think used to be here, and big companies. Because it's in a good network, to get on the motorways. So we're picking that up, and at the end of it, in COVID time, we couldn't give it out because the schools didn't want it because they couldn't be sure exactly where it had come from, and we couldn't give it to the charities that we've been giving it to because they closed down because of COVID. And so we started giving it to people who came to the food bank. So as well as the kind of long shelf life food that the food bank's always given, they added in some fresh fruit and veg and meat. And at the end of that, I said to our colleagues, why don't we just start giving that out? Because there was more being left over than we could actually pick up at that time. Why don't we pick up more on a daily basis and say to people, do you want to pay? We chose £3 a bag and take as much as you want. And we did the sort of numbers on it, and I thought, well, this might be worth it because we thought 30, 40 people might come a day and we can give them the food, and we worked out, it would take a certain bit more effort, but the return for the people of Harlow would be great. And within about 6 weeks, there was 150 people a day, not 30 people a day coming. So we picked up more and more, and people were queuing around the church. And people thought that was the food bank, but it wasn't. It was the Bounty Club, which was basically a low-cost way of getting people good quality food, and also the food was going to go to landfill. You know, so we're saving breaks money because they weren't paying for it to go to landfill. We're saving, the planet, as it were, because we weren't dumping stuff. So it was a win-win-win, and a win for the people of Harlow. And so we basically took a decision to say, well, let's keep this going alongside the food bank. And it was very interesting. Different kind of people came along, and they were similarly in need of food support. But the food bank is for people in crisis, and so it provides the kind of food that you can literally bank. You can store it somewhere and then give it back out. So that was tins and packets and things with a long shelf life. Whereas this stuff was the opposite. It was things that probably had a week of shelf life. So come and get it while you can. And we found, for instance, people who might have been newcomers to the country, or migrant communities, or longer term, residents here that were born in other countries and had different eating habits, who didn't want, Fray Bentos pies or tins of beans when they were hungry. Yes. They wanted fresh food because that's what they cooked. And they started coming, and a lot of older people started coming, people who were retired, and they said to us, we could never go to the food bank. We couldn't accept charity. It was it was a sort of pride and historic thing. And people who are now retired tend to be people who grew up like me in an era when you didn't have the kind of money, disposable money. So I grew up in a family that was pretty normal, and we were always counting our pennies, and the kind of a takeaway. I mean, I think they were invented when I was young, but you can't spend that kind of money on a food. You can't buy a pizza, and now it's just common. So those folk who were really in hardship just loved what we were doing. And it's interesting, today there was a story in the press about Colchester Food Bank saying they're getting more and more older people coming to their food bank. And because we started up this parallel activity, which is selling low-cost food as well as a food bank, we don't have that problem. In fact, older people are coming to our Bounty Club and buying low-cost food, and it's keeping their heads above water. And so when you come into our centre here, there's a food bank, which we're sitting next to, and then next to it there's the Bounty Club. And our numbers have gone down at the food bank because of people who are shopping.
But you've given people a way that they can look after themselves, that they don't have to be asking for charity. That you've given people a reasonable, low-cost alternative.
So if you imagine, most people who come to the food bank are folk who've been pretty long-term on benefits. And if you're on long-term benefits, you've got like £90 a week for a family of 4 to pay for everything after your that's heating, lighting.
Yes,
not your rent and rates, but everything that's closed, everything that's just so if you're on that sort of money, and then something goes wrong in your life, like your washing machine breaks the same week you're
or you want to be doing something in life, if you want some entertainment in life, if you want to actually live, where does that fit into the cost of the social benefits that are given to those in need?
That's why we've been sort of campaigning for more. It's a very complicated one, that one, but in practical terms here, we want to stop people getting to that crisis point. So come and shop with us. Or if you've already been in that crisis point, we don't want you to come back and back and back here. We want you to have more choice. We want you to have a life where, instead of just taking what you can get in tins, your diet will improve if you go to the Bounty Club and get fresher food. You'll be somewhere in between what we might call a normal shopping and getting out of crisis, and it's working. It's the biggest one in Essex by a mile.
So why are so many people first of all in need of the food bank?
Well, last year, this year about 4,000 food bank parcels we give out.
In a week?
A year, sorry.
A year. I was going to say a week. That's
it's an awful lot.
but it's still a lot of big. If I can sit here and consider that, over a year, that's a lot of families that are in need of help.
4,000 households. But it's actually not 4,000 households. It's 4,000 food parcels, sometimes more than once. So if you imagine, of the 4,000, 1,000 were people who came here once, and then that was all they needed. So they hit a buffer. And it could have been people like you and I, let's say you had a pretty regular job, and then something went wrong, something else went wrong, and we just realised our credit cards were maxed. We're still paying the mortgage because it's gone up. Whatever it was, you suddenly had no food in the cupboards. And quite typically, if you're in that position, the amount you would get from signing on to benefits is an absolute tiny fraction of what you used to getting in, and you've got to make some adjustments somewhere. Whether it's the fact you've taken out too many loans, you've got to consolidate the loans, things like that. So there's different categories of people. There's no single answer. So if you're one of those people who've just hit the buffers of your debt against your income, then you tend to want short-term intervention. But if you've been someone with not that level of income, and you've been trying to manage, and then one thing's gone up and another thing's gone up, and quite often folk in that position, they keep hoping they'll solve it, and they'll think, I'll do this, I'll do that, and then they maybe take a bet and think, well, I'll take on a higher cost loan because it's quite hard to get a loan anymore when you've got to a certain point, and then you've taken on a sort of payday loan, which is 26% a month, and at that point you've really sunk. But you don't want to admit it or something like that. You don't want to, I would be like that. I can tell you, I'm a very sort of self-reliant person. I wouldn't like to go to someone and say,
I need help. I felt that shame when I had to come to the food bank for help when I was working and my wife got cancer, and I was in that position of life changed in an instant. And when you move from being on a full-time income onto having benefits, it doesn't cover what your lifestyle was before that. And all of a sudden, you're trying to support a family on a lot lesser income than you had, and you need help. And I felt that shame of really coming in the queue to come to the food bank to ask for help. So no, that story that you're telling me that a lot of people go through, I've been there myself. I've experienced that. I'm on a different side of that than that now.
Can I say what? Everyone who gets a food bank voucher, we know their details.
Yes,
and it's just a way of not of monitoring people, but for us to know the reasons what they're affecting people. So 45% of people who come for a food bank voucher live in a single income household. So quite commonly, if you're in a partnership and you're both working, well, there's a buffer by that person. But if you're in a single income household, 45% are people who are in a single income household living by themselves. The next 25% are single parent households. So again, that person's having to bring more money in for more people. So the fragility is there for those people. And then it goes to other categories of families and things like that. Nearly all are on universal credit, right, either in work or out of work on universal credit, which is, I think it's 11% of people in Harlow 13% of people in Harlow are on universal credit, and 8% are fully dependent on it. So just about everyone who comes to us are in that category. So the difficulty with universal credit is that when you sign on, they give you a certain amount of money, and 5 weeks later you get the next check, and they take the money back that they've given you. So, but if you signing on to universal credit, and you've owed people money, and you've got to think, then you get the money, you pay it all back, and you've got nothing in the bank. You got nothing in the food cupboard 3 weeks later because the money you owed people, or you borrowed, or whatever, you paid them all back, but you've got nothing left for yourself for 2 weeks, and then they take it off when you go back. So it's like a really bumpy ride into universal credit. So that's the archetypal person who comes. If you say, who is it? Single person, household, been on the universal credit, either just signed on or on quite a long time, and they've just hit a crunch point. And when you told the story about coming here, I think the most sort of wonderful thing about my job is the people who want to help. Because I know, and this is our baby banks like this, where people give us, like things that their kids have grown out of. They're delighted to give it away. They think, oh, this is the buggy that my little kid was pushed around in. This is the cot they had. And they think, oh, I'm so glad I can give it to you. And similarly, people who give money to the food bank, they're not thinking, oh, we better give some money to those people, scroungers. I'm like, they're not thinking that way. They're thinking, well, I want my neighbours to have food. I want them to know they live in a town that cares about them. So I think, well, we are the front end of a town that cares. People are giving willingly to people in Harlow and saying to them, we care about you. So I think when we give someone a food bank parcel, the message is, oh, here you are, you better have some food.
So when we're at that
Harlow
moment,
cares about you.
So when someone's at that moment of entering the door here, taking that gift of a food parcel, how do you help them avoid the place of feeling shame?
Yeah, well, it's quite interesting. You know, if we can go up there if you want the cameras, but when you go in the food bank, some people are really, really down and depressed, and you can't say cheer up. You're saying we're here for you, and we're here next week, and we're here the week after. For as long as it takes, we're here. And so, you know, this might just be the start of something or whatever. So you can't, you know, say too much to people. You say, what else can we help you with? But you make it as simple as possible to walk in and say, sit down. So we call it the warm welcome. You want people to have a warm welcome, feel no shame, feel nothing, feel just you've come to a whole section of Harlow that is there for you. That's why you're here, and that's why we're here, and we're not here to make anyone feel bad. But then alongside, when people go in there, there is a fixed kind of menu of items that people have. It's a Trussell Trust thing. It's national. It's all the same. So if you went to a food bank here, or you went to one in Sheffield or Glasgow,
so it's not a postcode lottery of how well you're cared for by the food bank.
No, that's right. But alongside that, people give us other things, whether it's like shampoo or whatever, and things like that. And then local bakers and things like that give us food. So Mayfield Bakery, bless them, give us 2 lots a week of really, really nice food. So alongside the tin stuff, you've got really nice bakery stuff and other things. So we say, okay, that's the standard amount you'll get. Here's what do you want from this lot here. Yeah, so go home with lots of food, to your family. But also, just in front of us where we are here, there's 3 kind of booths of advice booths. So the citizens' advice are there to help you work through your money if you're ready for that. Most people aren't the first time. That it's literally walking across the door. It's
crisis moment, isn't it? It's taking care of that moment in time.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to go into the dealing with the future. Right now, we need, what do we need? We need food.
Yeah.
We need care.
Yeah.
And that's what you're able
and
to
the message
provide. And if you
we're
need
here
more,
for you, and come back. We're here for you. And usually the second time, third time was say, how you doing? You know, nice to see you. You know, don't worry about food. If there's things you think you need to have to address, you know, we've got, and then there's 3 types of help here on a daily basis that people can get. One to look at the money, one to look at what other things might have let go of or something like that. And quite often someone who's got into crisis, you know, they'd like to go talk to someone, or they've got a health issue that they're finding hard, or a housing issue, very commonly housing. You know, so it's bad enough feeling that you haven't got any food, but your house is cold and damp.
Yes, yeah.
You know, so how can we just get you out of that hole a bit and make as you feel a bit stronger? We might not be the people; it might be other people entirely. So can we point to someone in your area? Can we do something? But really, we can't sort of wrap around support. You know, so the food is the beginning of it. The next bit is the next bit, and we want to get people. If it's very unusual for anyone to come for more than 4 or 5 times in a row. But if they've been coming quite,
because you've given them that stability, you've given them that platform for them to be able to rebuild whatever crisis they're going through.
Yeah.
They can start to rebuild their life from the place of food. And I think we see that in societies, don't we? That food is a connection point for all of us. I think it's really deep rooted in our humanity and. You know, we do it with our family, don't we? At Christmas time, we bring us all together for a Christmas dinner for food, and so it makes sense to start off the help with feeding each other.
Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
And I'm also.
But they wouldn't want to come to a meal then.
No. You know, you're giving. You know, there's that old saying, isn't it, about teaching? You give someone a fish and they eat for a day. You teach them 2 fish, and it's kind of a little bit like that. You're doing here. Yeah. You're teaching people how to give. You're giving them that stability for a day that they can then go forward from here. Because I see here also that you have these cooking stations where you have people come in that are teaching people how to cook healthy meals.
Yeah, it's kind of that way. So the idea is we're getting help from Essex County Council on this one at the moment, because we've got a big membership. We've got 3,500 members at the Bounty Club. It's a lot. Not they don't come every week, but it's a lot of people. And what we know is it is the people on the lowest income, and the people on the lowest income, sadly, for various reasons, tend to, and this is not a universal truth, but by statistics, they tend not to eat as nutritious food as people higher up the income brackets. And that has its kind of effect, because what we eat actually changes our mood, changes our view. So we got some money from Essex County Council to try a project. It's not saying we want you to eat healthily. We want you to experience different options in the nutritional makeup of your food. Because at the end of the day, if I always use Pringles as an example here. We all like a pack of Pringles, but how do you stop eating those Pringles once you've opened them?
Yeah, once you pop, you can't stop.
So, and it's quite hard because they're a form of addictive food. They have an instant hit,
And I can tell you right now, I ate a massive bag of crisps last night. This big, and I know that's really terrible, isn't it?
Well,
but once you do start,
if you do it every night, it's terrible.
Yeah, well, because they are addictive, aren't they? And there's chemicals within those foods now
Pringles,
that make you want more.
Even
I say chemicals, even things like salt. Salt is an addictive property that makes us want more of it. And so when you've got that in food, we do need to be looking at alternatives. And I think that I've heard as well that the gut health is where we get our feelings from. That's where we get our happy or sad endorphins.
They call it our third brain, don't they? Now?
Yes,
which is like, and I don't know about you, but I'm on the gummies now for trying to get mine happy. But just things that affect your microbiome in your stomach. It's it's good for your mood. And I have to say, I'm pretty late comer to this because I was brought up in Yorkshire and a very, very working class it was sausages, chips and beans, or sausages, chips and egg.
So the menu
and then occasionally fish fingers. But it was a really basic, all deep fried. My mum was a piano teacher, and she had half an hour between teaching kids and then feeding the family and then going back to piano lessons every night. So the chip pan was there with the food ready,
all ready to go.
No, she didn't go. I've got to go teach. But just in that sense, it's not. You can get habituated to pretty low quality food. But if once you start eating better food, you actually think, I feel different for this. But if you've never done it, you wouldn't know. So the idea here is to say, well, come and try some of these things. And if you want to learn to cook these things, then we've got a whole thing. We've got a new venue upstairs with a big cookery station in it.
So you can go that one step further.
Yeah,
with people
and
if they
this
wish.
fantastic guy called Terry, was a chef in a 5-star restaurant, and he's just a brilliant guy. And he says, come on, let's try this. So a couple of days a week, he's there and saying, try this, and people go, it tastes good. It's one of those things where, if you've ever seen a recipe and it's got a foreign title in it, you think, well, whatever it is, I'm not going to like it. But he's saying, no, try this. It's just this kind of thing, and I made it with things you can.
It sounds to me like you're leading through experimentation with food as well. That you're opening up people's curiosity with food, and they're able to experiment, and they're able to discover something new, and give them a better way of living potentially as well.
If they want to do it, you can't. It's a bit like when we're talking to our members here at the Bounty Club about food, just a really open sort of focus group. Most of them who had ever really thought about what they've been eating had been to Weight Watchers or those kind of clubs, which is about losing weight. So they had a strong idea about choosing what you eat, but it was all around getting thinner, of which very few people managed to keep up. Because it's quite hard to get thinner when life doesn't have much fun about it. For whatever, if you're really battling against the odds.
Comfort foods. I had a period of time when I think back to a job that I had, that I went and had a donut every lunchtime because that was my highlight of the day. Because it gives you that boost. And at that point in my life was the biggest, most weight that I had, because I was looking for those comfort foods.
It's just something, and we all need that. the phrase is self-soothing, isn't it? You know, we all need a bit of things that make us feel good about our day. And you know, if your day's been really rubbish, then you think, oh well, at least I've got that to look forward to. You know, and then you start to feel bad about yourself, and then you're at Weight Watchers again.
And it's an endless cycle. So
yeah, the idea is to change people's relationship with food. You know, and not necessarily see it as just comfort, but it's actually something. If I get the balance right, so there's nothing wrong with the bag of crisps every now and then. If I get the balance right, then at the end of the day, my mood will be better, and I'll kind of go up a positive spiral rather than down one. You know, so that's the idea of that project. It's a good one.
So where would you say that that someone should start with that, with making a change, with making that difference in their life, where looking at food in a different way and exploring different options in eating? What's the beginning? What's the beginning bit?
I'm not sure I'm the expert on this one. I could tell you quite.
From your experience of
can't show this to anyone who knows
no.
I have done that myself.
Yeah.
But actually, I think it's as much a psychological thing. And it's quite hard to get to the point where it says, I'm going to make a change. That is a really hard point to get to. And my experience is, if you get to that point, you then say, this is going to be hard, rather than, right, this will be easy. One of the hardest things I've ever done is to try and change my diet. And I think for most people it is because it just feels wrong, you know. So I've got relatives who are drug addicts, and you know, it feels wrong when they haven't turned out drugs around them. They feel, you know, so they feel normal when they're on drugs. And they feel wrong when they're off drugs, and I think it's the same sort of thing with food. And to some extent, you think, you know, so every now and then I'll make myself a nice big healthy salad. I look at it and think, I don't want to eat that.
No.
But now I do.
Right. Because you've changed your habits.
Yeah.
You made a choice.
And I'm always, I'm still always surprised by it. I really enjoyed that. What's going on? I enjoyed a salad. There must be something wrong with me. But I think I think there's this thing, and you know, I say to people, and I am not an expert, and look at this physique. It doesn't reek health, but I just say, this is a hard thing to do. Remember, this will be hard, and remember, it will take a while. It's just like losing weight. I think you say, you know, I want to lose weight, and I think you say, okay, what's my time frame for this? And you say, well, I want to lose weight quick. Nearly always, you know, you've seen yourself in the mirror and you think, what the hell? So I need to lose weight quick. But then, so if you cannot lose weight quick. You just put it back straight on. So you say, I need to change habits, and I need to give myself a time. And so I think the thing that is all I can say is I know about it is this is hard. So I'm about to do a hard thing. And so at that point, be kind to yourself, because you're going to do a hard thing, and say, come on, you know, so you get to the end of the day and you structure your diet, say, well done you, I'm proud of you, tell yourself, because this is hard, you know. So that would be my thing, you know. And any change in life, I think, is hard, you know. So anyone coming to us at the food bank and to the Bounty Club who coming here and just don't feel too good about themselves or about their lives, well, if you can do that, you're going through one of the hardest transitions you can make, and you do need people around you, and you need to know that indicators that it's working are really significant, and take them to heart. You know, I do feel better now. I do feel, you know, I can call my mates. One of the things about the food bank is people lose friends before they come to the food bank. It's really common. We had a lovely woman who came in who'd her husband had died, and there wasn't the provision for her in the system, and so she became very insular. And she said, the first thing I lost was my friends, because they would ring up and say, we're going out to such and such a place. And this is common for young people too. Come on, we're going out to the pub. Well, I can't really afford it tonight. And after a while, they can't afford to keep giving you, and you feel bad to be a sort of charity case amongst your friends. And then they stop calling you, and then you're alone.
So the social circles are becoming smaller. Their own communities are disappearing. So how can you help in that respect then?
Well, I think we can't. I think we should be. You know, it's a bit like, you know, when things go wrong in some people's lives, they say, well, the government should be doing something about this. You know, people like the government or us, you can't do everything about it. But you can ask the question, you know, how what's affecting your life the most? you know, and if they say, I'm just by myself a lot, you say, well, let's think about, we don't do that here. I mean, it's not, we're here just to give food.
Yes,
but some of the people who
that's kind of what I was getting to with this, that here at Harlow Foodbank, you've got these other divisions of the community in the same building.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're able to point people into a new direction. You not push them, not force them there, but this does seem to be a community hub here.
Yeah, that's right, the idea. And so if someone came to the food bank and they got themselves in a really difficult position like that, and if we can get them across the Bounty Club and they're saving a bit more money, and so rather than thinking, which people do when they're in crisis, I'm in a hole and I can't imagine how I can ever get out of that hole. And somehow or other start to get them out of the hole a bit, so the head's, you know, peeping out above the side of the hole. And then, you know, just say, well, what we can do is get you to a point where you can afford to go out with your mates. And that's not our job to fix everything about your life. You're an intelligent, self-responsible adult. We can at least facilitate that kind of recovery. Yes. But we're not, you know, we're not the answer to everyone's problems. No. You know, but there are people.
And I guess in some ways you shouldn't be. Should you?
Well, I think there is people want their own life. They want to make their own decisions. So one of the reasons the Bounty Club works is instead of just taking what you're given, there's a sort of dignity of choosing what you're going to eat, like everyone else does. And that's really important to us. We don't want people to be coming back to the.
So is Bounty something that's unique to this town then? Is that something that's essentially been started here by you, and it's not a national scheme?
We kind of invented it as we went along, by selling the fresh food and then adding other things to it. And then we got money from Essex County Council, who see us as a sort of I don't know, we call it a lighthouse initiative, where someone's come up with an idea that would work. And there's much smaller ones around Essex, but the size we've got is like that. And then I think we've managed to, you know, this building we're in the old Wilco building, it's huge. Remember when we moved in, we just looked across it.
Must have looked at the space.
But we've filled it.
Yes,
You know, we've filled it with all sorts of things. And you know, the school uniform shop's big now. And you know what? It's nearly all volunteers. It's Harlow neighbours helping Harlow neighbours. You know, it's just great to be part of it, because you know, it's not about me. It's as much about me as persuading people, like the people, and saying, "Don't worry, we can manage this. We'll manage it well." But from then on, it's about people who want to help their neighbours, and the people about, you know, it's about 4 staff and 20 volunteers in here every day, and the volunteers are just, you know, and they're upbeat about it, because the big thing, I think, this is one of the secrets of life, is you don't know what you've got until you give it away a lot of the time. And if you think, a lot of people feel that life, you know, their life is boring or unstimulated, but you say, well, come and give what you've got to help others, and you go away and you've got something you didn't know what it was, because you don't know what you've got until you give it to someone who hasn't got it, because in their face you see what you've got, in the gratitude or the fact that they feel better for it. So, you know, sometimes the secret of community life is discovering that you have an asset for your community, and you are an asset. And you go home. This has been so myself. I remember some days waking up feeling really glum about life. And I remember one day I was going through some home life difficulties, and I drove the van and we picked up about a ton of food and put it. And by the time I left picking up a ton of food, I was singing as I went home in the van. And I thought, what are you singing about? You were miserable an hour ago.
But there is definitely something deep-rooted in us as human beings, that when we help others, something changes within us. You know, I think of the Robin Williams quote. He said, life is about others. You know, let go of myself, my own ego. That's nothing. Bye-bye to that. And when I make it about others, that's everything.
Do you know what? I have a sort of guru figure who I like, which is a Roman Catholic friar called Richard Raw. But he has this phrase. He's full of these pithy little phrases like that, and he says, "One thing's in the Western world, we think life is about us, but actually we are about life." So you have to reverse that around and say, I need to be part of the bigger thing.
Yes, yeah.
And when I'm part of the bigger thing, I discover what I'm really
what
about.
I am out here
rather
for,
than thinking, I need to get this, I need to get that, I need to get that. And so, one reason community doesn't work so well in the Western world is we're just being fed things to buy, buy this, buy this, buy this.
The consumerism society that we're being fed isn't healthy for us.
Yeah, and we're not satisfied by it.
We're seeing the depression rates rise.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of lonely people.
Yeah.
We're seeing society doesn't feel right for a lot of people.
No.
And I can say from my own personal experience that when I made that shift of making life not about me, that's when it started to get better.
Yeah.
That's when everything started to improve.
That's great. And again, that's one of those things you can't know till you do it.
No,
isn't it?
And you can't be told to do it either. It has to be a personal choice.
Yeah.
But it literally, my life changed overnight as I changed that perspective.
Wow.
I think for me, I was looking at the wrong career paths that were kind of set up to be very, very self-involved.
Yeah.
I was trying to be an actor, and that can be quite a selfish
and
lonely pursuit, and a very self-driven pursuit, because that is all about trying to sell yourself.
I know, it's very isolating at the end of the day, isn't it?
Hugely isolating.
Yeah, and you're in a very competitive, as you know, my daughter's in the same position.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things that the more you succeed, the more isolated you can become, because, by very nature, you go up the league of great actors.
Well, however, when you look at the great actors, the best actors, when they're in a scene, it isn't about them showing themselves off. I often think of Gary Oldman. When he's in a scene, the scene isn't about him.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman is one of the best listeners you can ever experience to see in film. If you actually watch Gary Oldman, he's making the performance about everyone else that's in the room. And performing with that. It isn't him. He isn't becoming insular. And I think we do see that in the best performers, that actually they're starting to make it about everyone else. They're reacting rather than
pretending to be someone else.
Yes, but trying to be someone else.
You're acting in the way someone else would react to that situation. Yeah.
So everything, I think, lies in others.
But so how did you then stop being a career-driven, I want to be a good actor, and become something else? I don't know how does that work?
For me, it was taking a pause in my life, taking a moment to look at what I was doing and just stopping. I was continuously fighting that I need this career, I need to be successful, I need to do well for my family. And I was fighting, and I was hitting my head against a brick wall for, my 20 years, I'd say. I was really going really hard at everything, and this whole thing about success and me, I must do this, I must do that. And yes, I cared for my family along the way and tried to do good for them. But it wasn't till I took a moment out and just stopped and said, enough of all this, let's just stop for a moment. And I took a good 3 to 6 months of not doing anything. And in that space, I communicated with others and spoke to others. And I think that's where I discovered, for me, that it was about, this life isn't about me, it's about others. And I enjoy talking to people.
Yeah, well, you do. You're great at it. I tell my equivalent of that to some extent. So, in the 80s, I've grew up in a musical family. I'm a songwriter and singer, and I was in bands, and I was desperate to make it.
Yes.
And so we spent all our time going around with our demos. And I was in Glasgow, so I'm down to London trying to persuade people, or meeting A&R men from London. Yes. And we almost got there. And we supported a band called Deacon Blue on tour. They're my friends, so they gave us a tour slot. We went around, and that was a great thing. And at the end of it, there was it just wasn't working for me. I wasn't finding myself on stage and things like that. But one of my friends, who was a journalist, got me a deal with Chrysalis as a songwriter, which was, a kind of high point, because we spent 3 or 4 years looking for a record deal. But this was a publishing deal, it's called. And I then found myself in the industry, and I thought, this is it, I'm on the way up. But actually, I was suffocated by it, because the will to write songs in the way the industry wanted me to. Was it just I almost stopped, you know. I thought,
the constraints.
yeah, because I'd write, you know, a batch of five new songs. I'd come down to London, I'd play it to them again. Oh, yeah, I'm not really sure. I think, oh well, there went 6 months of my life, you know.
Yes, yeah.
And I think, and so after probably about 18 months, I thought, right, I'm not even going to try to do this anymore. And then I started writing much better songs.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't trying to play to
You wasn't trying
tune.
you wasn't trying to force it.
So I didn't. I was in a 3-year deal, I think, with them. So I just didn't put anything out for the next year and a half. And I put them out, and I put out what I think was one of the best albums and best music I've done. But it's because I was choosing to not be in anyone else's tune, and to a lot of them were kind of political, social songs. And much more about the grassroots. I was working with kids in the inner city in Glasgow. And I wanted to tell their stories, you know, and things like that. And I think it was just authentic. But you can't be authentic without, and still grab hold of yourself. You've got to be a part of everything else, and caring about everything else. I think, and I don't listen about myself that way. It sounds like you're saying, you know, it doesn't work to think I am the thing, I am the edifice that matters to me. Because we're not, at the end of the day. We look out from our eyes to the world. We don't look in on ourselves, and it's only when we interact with the world do we begin to find ourselves.
100%. I think that took me till nearly 40 to discover that. And I'd say, not just life has got better, but that success that I was always chasing before has started to come. Through that, by making life about others. Brilliant. Everything I wanted before is working now, because it's not about me.
Yeah, it's a good thing, isn't it? It's very hard to know that, because my guru guy says, you know, there are times in our life. You know, he says, you know, up to our middle 30s, he says, you know, we're trying to build our tower. He said, and we're trying to, you know, basically prove ourselves, which is it's kind of important at certain phases, but you can't keep doing that. There's other phases of life. And his thing is you do that, and so basically you're climbing the ladder, and you get to the top of the ladder, and it's against the wrong wall. Damn, I thought I was doing what would work. You know, I thought when I get to the top of this ladder, I'd be somewhere that would work for me, but it tends not to. And so somewhere in your life, you've got to sort of reverse that process and say, okay, so if it's not about that, what is it about? And many people get successful, and they get to the top of that wall, and they get a huge house, and they've got everything. And at some point, they think, oh, so what do I do now? Now I've got the house and the yacht and the such. For some people, it's right, but for a lot of people, and I know a few of them, you know, they just get miserable. You know, whereas I do tend to hope that, you know, I'm 67 now, and I hope that life is just going to get better.
Well, so that was my next question for you then, that I've been thinking about this throughout this conversation, is how does it make you feel helping others the way that you do here?
Well, I think any manager has this experience where 20% of your time, I don't know the absolute ratio though it is, just make sure everything's really working, and the rest of it is just trying to deal with this stuff
fighting
that comes
the fires
along with
and
it. And so I tend not to go home at night thinking, wow, I feel great. I tend to go home at night and just double check through, have I got that thing working, have I got the other bit working? And then occasionally I say to myself, you did a good job, you know, and you've made a difference. And what else would you like to do? Right, I'll go play some music. I'll go do something else, because you have to turn off. But I think, you know, I still remain ambitious that we do something good for Harlow, and we do good for people who are really stuck. And you don't experience that every day when you are a manager, and the good that you do tends to be longer term. So occasionally I meet someone who says, you know, what you did for me was really important. And that's when I feel good, when I hear that more than others. But I think the key thing for me, and I don't know if you get this, but if you've got stuff and you give it away, you empower other people. So the key thing for me is to make that happen for my team, and that they go home thinking I did something good. and that they want then to make good things happen to other people. And so it's a kind of how do we make sure that in giving away whatever power I've been given in this role I'm in, other people are giving away their power and giving away their power. And so the power gets down to the people who need the kind of strength to come back up. So that will never be, too straightforward. So every now and then I just have to say, all right, you've done a good job. You've done what was needed, and be happy about it. Don't build up your ego, because you only did it when you let go of your ego. When you're doing it, trying to keep hold of your ego, what a mess you make.
Yeah. Oh, so, I know that
so,
for sure.
just take some comfort in that. And I've got, I was saying to someone the other day, this will be the last job I do. And so I have nothing to prove anymore, which is quite liberating. I don't need to get some status for my next job. Yeah. But that only happens once in life, if you know that you've hit the age where.
Is it about hitting an age, or is it about finding your purpose?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Because that takes time, I think, to find your purpose.
I think I've been doing purposeful things. I was brought up in Yorkshire, then I moved to Scotland and lived there until I was 37, then came down to London to run a festival. And so I've always felt quite purposeful. And then I run some charities in London, national charities. But it's quite different bringing that back home, I think. I feel, and doing it in my backyard, let's say, in the town that I live in. And I feel much more networked. When you work in London, I was commuting, and we were working in schools at that point, and then I was working in other countries. When you walk down the street and you meet people and they go, "Hi, Andy," and wave to you, I think, "Oh God, this is lovely." Yeah. Because it doesn't happen when you're doing national projects and things like that. I did a bit of time in government and found out what that was like, which is just a whole other thing, not a nice place to be. So knowing that you've done something in your neighbourhood, I think it's a great feeling, and that I've done it because other people have done it. It's as simple as that. So I'm happy that I've been part of something that's made a difference.
Wonderful. Well, you truly have made a difference, and like I say, on a personal note, I'm grateful for the things that you do here.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're doing amazing stuff within this town. If anyone does want help and support from the food bank, where should they go?
Yeah, well, in Harlow now we've got the Harlow Community Hub, and that's we're part of it. It's a sort of 4 or 5 different organisations who come together to create a point of contact. So the answer is the Harlow Community Hub, and call them 10 o'clock till 2, and they'll start tell them what the issue is. The first thing, if you're short of food, for whatever reason, the answer is yes, you can have food today. Well, except at weekends, but when we're open, you can have food today. And then what else can we do for you? Because you don't need to do anything to prove you need food. You don't need to, say, and quite often people will ring us up at our number and say, this has happened, and that's happened, and that's happened. And they feel they have to tell me their life story to justify getting food. Yeah. And I say, let me stop you there, buddy. Don't worry. We're here to give you food. Yeah. You don't need to tell me that. But call the Community Hub, and they will find out your details, because the food is a given. What else might you need? Tell them. So it's as simple as that. So call the Community Hub, and see where it goes from there. And we work as well as we can to make sure that whatever the next stage is for everybody, we've got something that can, as well as getting the food in your stomach, which is very basic level. Whatever else we can do, we'll try do. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you. I'll be sure to put links in the bottom of this conversation,
thank you,
so people can find a route. So one final question for you, Andy, and it's quite a big one that I'm asking a lot of people at the moment. It's a question that I'm pondering with in the universe. It's that kind of big in the world. How would you make this world a better place?
Well, I'm trying to do what I can now. I'm a believing Christian, and I don't think the church is where you look to if you're a Christian. You just look for what you think has made good in this world, and you start with the person and the work of Jesus. So it's as simple as that. And that is very hard for people to hear in our country because they've usually got a view on what that means. But I think you say, well, maybe there's somebody or something that can get some connection into me where I can start to get power to do something that is beyond just what I can do on my own. So if I look back in my life, I had a spiritual experience when I was 19. I'm still trying to make sense of it because it was, so what the hell was that?
Yes, yeah.
But I became more than just what I was. And I think it's there for everyone, that's something that will make you more than what you are. So that the things you think I can't overcome, the things that you think are destroying me in life or whatever, or the things, the habits, I think if you can find a hope to examine those and open that door, and that for me involved 18 months of therapy, age of 40 and things like that, you know, it's not, oh, everything is fixed. It's that there is somewhere in the distance a glimmer of light. And if I can get hold of that glimmer of light, or what do you call it, the sort of the immortal diamond that's inside us, if I can see that, just the tiniest glimpse of that, it goes a hell of a long way to giving us hope. So I think that the thing I think is the most difficult thing for people in our consumerist world is to find something that costs nothing and is there all the time for you, that doesn't wear out, you know, that won't desert you, and it's waiting for you, and it's waiting to say, great, come on, let's move forwards. So, you know, I think I don't know how to make that happen. I don't know how to make
is that, have we touched on it already, is that thing to look for help, to look for hope for, is that thing others? Is that the thing?
I would say it is others and the maker, because the maker is that very thing, and it's built into us. And we spend a lot of time trying to satisfy ourselves with what is being sold to us when the thing was there all along. And it is in me, and it is in me in community with others, because that is the thing, you know, us together, as human beings who care and love about each other, as opposed to who care and want to keep our lives to ourselves. Because it's there when you encounter it in people very different from you. And there's a sort of the otherness of other people and the otherness of God. It's a tough thing to say, well, maybe there's something I can hope in. But when you do, and you only know it when you do, you kind of, like you're saying, you know, you can't explain it to someone. No. But when you do it, you think, oh, wow, I didn't know that was there. And now I know it, I'm going to keep following it. So that's where I come to here.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Andy. This was a wonderful conversation. I truly appreciate you sharing. And like I say, I appreciate all the work that you do here within the town and the community.
Likewise,
it's really important. Thank you. And if anyone has been watching or listening to this conversation.
Hello, Mum.
Yes, hello, Mum, because my mum watches this as well. So, thank you for joining us for this conversation.
Great.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
appreciate
Mum.
it, Andy.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Bye-bye.